Welcome to Sightings UFOpedia. I'm Tim White. Together, we're going to discover more about the intriguing world of UFOs. To begin, make a selection from this menu. There are many facets to the UFO phenomenon. The days when UFOs simply meant flying saucers are long gone. Choose a subject to discover more. It's often assumed that the alien presence on Earth dates from the end of World War II. But there is a body of evidence to support the idea that Earth has been visited not just in the 20th century, but time and again for thousands, possibly millions of years. Such objects that seem to be misplaced in time are called imparts, or out-of-place artifacts. There have been many such objects: an Aztec trinket shaped like a modern jet, or the humanoid footprints in rocks 3.5 million years old. Aliens can make their presence felt in many different ways, ranging from the benign to the gruesome. Choose any category to find out more. Abductions, or close encounters of the fourth kind, have been reported worldwide. What is the reason for this phenomenon, and what techniques do investigators use? Select a category to find out. In most of the cases of alien abduction reported, the victims are usually taken singly, making it difficult to back up their story. However, there's a case of repeated abductions of 3 different generations, all within the same family. The rare distinction of being repeatedly selected for alien attention goes to the Hernandez family of Roswell, California. The incidents began in 1972, when Debbie McGill was abducted. Later, her daughter Shannon Hernandez and Shannon's 5-year-old son Zachary were also involved. Shannon started having frightening dreams, and when Zachary told her about his almost identical dreams, she knew that she'd been contacted by aliens.
I woke up terrified, absolutely terrified. Light came in, bed shaking. It's kind of like it all happened at once. I opened my eyes, and after my wall, I saw her face, and you can see very clearly. For a couple of weeks, I was real scared of the dark. It was a real adjustment.
Zachary began to tell his mother about strange events.
One day he came up to me and told me about how the aliens landed in the backyard. He even showed me where they parked. There was a little fear at first for him, too. He was scared of the dark and things like that. And we had an open discussion about it.
Dr. Richard Boylan, who examined him,
he told his mother about the ETs coming, and they take him to play while Mom and Daddy sleep.
I'm telling the truth here. That's all. That's all I can say.
Based on my observations of him, he certainly seems to be a bright kid who's certainly above average for his age group in his poise and verbal skills. There seems to be a statistical trend with kids who've had ET contact that they seem to be at a performance level a bit above average, and you wouldn't expect that to hold true as much as it does if it was just a fluke.
Are aliens attracted to bright kids? Or is it just that such kids have a more vivid imagination? During hypnotic regression, Debbie and Shannon described how the aliens warned them telepathically about major geological events. They feel it's their job to warn the population in time so that they can save themselves. The Hernandez family certainly take these warnings seriously themselves. Following alien advice to relocate, they've moved from California to New Mexico.
Abductee has a negative connotation to it. It means stolen.
I prefer to call myself an experiencer because they're not taking me unwillingly. I go quite willingly.
The advantage of the whole family being contactees is that we can talk about it openly, so everybody's okay with it.
Since the studies which Dr. Boylan made of the Hernandez case, he has had his license revoked, but over a completely unconnected matter. Nevertheless, the family still trusts him and regard his integrity highly. In August 1976, 4 young Boston art students, laden with backpacks and tents, set off into the wilds of northern Maine. They'd planned a week camping and canoeing along the beautiful Allagash waterway. The group were Charlie Fultz, Chuck Rack, and twin brothers Jack and Jim Weiner.
We were just a couple of guys camping, fishing, and we were excited about getting out of the city and being in the wilderness, going somewhere where we'd never been, getting some fishing done, paddling canoes. It was fun.
On the 6th day of their trip, they paddled to Eagle Lake to fish for trout at night.
So we decided to build a fire so we could find our way back to our campsite. We built a huge fire. We built it to last several hours because we expected to be out there fishing for several hours. And all four of us climbed in one canoe with our fishing equipment and headed out into the lake.
Chuck became aware of being watched. He turned around and saw a large, bright sphere hovering silently above the water. Chuck called to the others, and they all saw the huge oval object rising above the trees. When Charlie shone his flashlight at the sphere, it stopped and began to move toward their canoe. As it did so, a shaft of light came from it. The boys tried to escape, but it fluttered over them. Each of the four has a different recollection of what happened next. Charlie remembered paddling to shore. Chuck Rack remembered staying in the canoe. Jim remembered standing on the shore until the light disappeared. Jack remembered thinking they would be caught, but the next he knew, he was on the shore, and the sphere was just overhead. What they all found, though, when they got back to their campsite, was that their roaring campfire should have lasted 2 hours. Minutes had passed. It wasn't until 13 years after the event that the Allagash incident was fully investigated. A team of UFO experts interviewed the four men, and they were hypnotically regressed.
I'm not going in there. No fucking way. Just leave me alone. I don't believe it. The beam is coming towards us. I don't know what it's going to do. It makes me feel like I'm flying apart. They reminded me of bugs. No eyelids. They didn't blink. I remember these creatures examining my brother with a type of wand, is what it appeared to me as. It was a long, thin instrument, maybe the diameter of a pencil, a little over a foot long with a bulbous end on it. The next thing I remembered was they turned me over, and then they were doing some type of anal exam, and it terrified me. I remember them taking a sperm sample from me. They flooded my mind with images of lovemaking and sexual visions, which aroused me. But it was totally out of my control. The next thing I knew, we were standing on the beach.
After their examination, they were taken to another room and floated back down to their canoe by the beam of light. For one of the four, that wasn't the end of the experience. Under hypnosis, Jack Weiner revealed that he'd been abducted a second time. In 1988, he'd been awakened by his dog and looked out of the window. He saw a blue light, which came from a glowing object. He recounted how he and his wife had been abducted that night. They'd been taken into the object and medically examined, and then returned to their bedroom. Eventually, all the Allagash four were given polygraph tests. They were examined 3 times, and they all passed the tests.
One person might fool a polygraph examiner, but you have 4 all passing the tests, and the polygraph examiner being convinced that all 4 are telling the truth is very important.
When 4 people are found to have subconscious memories so similar, we have to consider carefully before doubting what they say. But when one of the 4 seems to become the special object of alien interest, other questions are raised. Why was Jack Weiner singled out? Why was his wife involved? Could his memory have been modified, not by aliens, but by the very process of hypnotic regression, which was intended to clarify what really happened?